this is Sarah and James with A Full Life. We're coming with part 2 of our author series today, where we interview James, who is a writer and published author. So since this is the second part, go back to the first video if you want to catch the first few sections of questions that we did. Today we're going to primarily focus on questions regarding writing process and how that all works. So I guess we talked about what you're working on last time, but why don't you give us a kind of a rundown of how you prepare for your writing process? Like, what research do you do? How often do you write? Is it every day? And that type of thing.
So I guess that's multiple questions wrapped into one.
Sorry.
So I guess I'll start with how I write, or kind of the process of the beginning. So I usually start with an idea, and I'm not one of those people that can plot all this stuff out.
Okay.
Like, there are people that sit down and they plot everything out. I mean, they make an entire outline for a full-length 100,000 word plus novel in detail. Mm-hmm. They have characters that they've had dialogues with. You know, they've got entire character profiles, like psychological profiles of their characters all written out. Like, for example, this character who is a narcissist is going to react this way in a situation because they're a narcissist. I mean, they've got all that stuff ready to go. I'm not one of those people. I can't do that. Okay. I take an idea and I just play with it over and over again in my mind. Like, I see it taking place almost visually, and then I kind of see the events unfolding, and then in my mind I determine how that character, based on what I think that character would be like. Mm-hmm. Sometimes based on people that I've known, at least parts of, like, because everybody's kind of similar in ways, like they have these similar traits, but also people can be very different. So I focus on people in my life who are very different, and they have unique or quirky traits, and I like to think of, you know, how would they respond to that?
Yeah.
You know, how would they respond to that? Not that my characters are based on real people, but sometimes I like to take the traits, because, you know, you learn from real life, you know, and people like to read things that seem realistic.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I start with, and I just play out, and I take said person that I've kind of built from character traits from quirky people that I know, mm-hmm. and then I put them in a situation, and I say, how would they react to that? Now, in regards to research, I like to be very thorough with research, but research it's fickle. Like, for example, most people have a common knowledge about how most generic things work.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, unless you're writing a very specific novel about a very specific thing that people know a whole lot about, I don't think you necessarily have to worry about it. Because let's say that you're writing a medical scene. 90% of the people who are going to read your book aren't in the medical field. You could tell them that blood is purple.
Well, that's more common knowledge.
Do you see what I'm getting with that? I mean, like, if you're explaining this high-tech procedure, you could probably research it online, get an idea, and just kind of fill in the blanks. It's that, like, 5% of stuff that you write where you really need to be spot on, because something that's off is going to be noticeable. Okay. Like, for example, blood. People know blood's not purple. But most things are pretty generic, so I'd say research is mostly on, like, tricks on how I can become a better writer, I guess you would say. Tips for myself, like how I've got this scene, I'm dealing with this new way of looking at it, maybe a new point of view type of thing. Maybe I'm trying to do a different type of way that I word a certain, like, do a word structure. And it's more like that, like, how do I improve my writing? But every once in a while I need to Google stuff, Wikipedia stuff, and get an idea of, like, how something works. Or I think a big thing that authors do is they research words. Okay. Like, and it's kind of surprising because you never think that, because you think, oh, authors know all the words in the world, and there's some words out there that are crazy. But though you're supposed to use simplistic words, sometimes you use words that common knowledge tells you is a word that everybody uses on a regular basis, and they do. Unfortunately, everybody uses it incorrectly. So when you're writing, you got to make sure your words that you're using are correct, and that's part of what people do, editors do during copy editing, is they make sure that the words you are using are not, like, you haven't used them inappropriately. Like, you say wind tunnel when it's actually a turbine. You know, they kind of check on that to make sure your words are accurate. So, okay. So there is some research. And then your last part of your question was, how often do I write? Yeah. And I try to write every day, a little bit every day.
How much every day?
I try to aim for 500 words twice a day.
Okay.
So I try to do 500 words in the morning, and I try to do 500 words at night on one piece.
Okay.
But I also am ADD in a way, and I have multiple projects going on at once. And I don't like to get too involved in one because you get burnt out, but I don't want to get too uninvolved because then you lose interest and you stop working on it. So it's good to keep up. So I usually have, like right now I have 3 projects going on simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I write 500 for each one in the morning, so 1,500 words, and then 1,500 additional words at night, so about 3,000 words a day.
Okay.
And then with editing, it's a little bit different.
Okay. All right. So last question, and maybe some people will relate to this, especially if you're a writer, is how do you overcome writer's block?
That is a hard one. Everybody gets it. I would say even the pros get it, but they probably like minimize it because of the pros. And but and the definition's different, I think, to everybody. I think to me, like, distraction is very much kind of the acting out, so to say, of my writer's block. So my writer's block isn't like, I just can't think of anything. My writer's block is more deceptive than that. It's more like, oh, you can't think of anything because there's 50,000 other things you could be thinking about right now. You could be, I think, one of my favorite authors, Ann Leckie from St. Louis, who I've actually interviewed on my show, she called it vacuuming the cat. That, you got to vacuum the cat. Like who vacuums a cat? But you got to do it because it's something you got to do. So you got to vacuum the cat. And what it's really doing is it's distracting you because really you're blocked.
Ah, okay.
At least, and that's, and maybe you're not blocked, but to me it's sort of like being blocked because you're not working.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's my biggest ploy. There's some times where I think, oh, I can't figure out this scene, and I take time. I just pause.
Yeah.
I pause and I get busy doing other things, and then usually the answer provides itself through some other means. I'll be sitting, driving a car down the road, and all of a sudden it's like, bingo! That's how I'm going to solve this plot problem, or that's how I'm going to move the characters from point A to point B.
Cool. Well, that's all we have for today with James. So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and be looking for additional videos for this author series. And thanks for joining us. Bye.